Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where we explore how to engage and align everyone in an organisation to execute continuous improvement and innovation. This show brings you insights from global experts and practitioners who share their journeys in creating cultures of excellence to deliver sustainable results and a better future.
Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. It is such a pleasure to have on the show with us today, Michelle Thomas. Michelle has had a large career spanning 27 years all over the world in the resource industry. Michelle is currently the Head of Innovation Delivery for BHP Minerals Australia. Michelle is passionate about innovation and leadership, sharing her own story and knowledge to help mid to long-term leaders stay, focus, and rebuild for the future. Let's get into the episode. Michelle, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brad. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. Listeners, Michelle and I know each other from past, and it's so cool to be able to record this show at last. Michelle, what is your backstory that sort of brought you into this world of resources, but then also to this point where you really focused on supporting mid to long-term leaders?
Well, I am English, as you can probably hear, by origin, but I grew up in a small village in Scotland. And, this in the middle of the Highlands, where really the environment shaped by glaciers from 10,000 years ago, cutting through granite rocks that were formed by, volcanic activity, who knows how long ago. And just that whole nature and that whole environment of being inside geology just really inspired me. Now, I thought I wanted to be an astrophysicist at the time, but I moved to Cambridge to study natural sciences and just found out that what I really loved was geology. And so I ended up switching to geology and taking that as my subject. I also really wanted to travel. That's one of those things from coming from a small village, I guess. I had a fiercely independent streak and I wanted to travel. And so I did my master's in France at the IFP school. And then I was in London for all of a year before I moved to the US, basically become a geophysicist and train as a geophysicist in the oil and gas industry. So, that's kind of how I got my start, and that was a very long time ago at this point. I've spent most of that time, so I started off in exploration, so I'm very comfortable with uncertainty. My whole career is about how do you take intelligent risks with very little information and very little chance of success and making that a smart decision. I've also, so I've worked around the world doing that. More recently, I set up, about 7-8 years ago, I set up the petroleum innovation team for my company in petroleum. And that was a really transformative experience for me because I'd worked in exploration where everything's considered competitive advantage and a lot of the innovation is done internally. And really working in innovation and in a job where I was told, go figure out what innovation is and what we're going to do about it, started to learn about innovation ecosystems and how all of the incredibly smart people who focus on all of these different topics out there in the world could actually bring their knowledge in to support what we're trying to achieve and have an impact in the business. And at the same time, I realized that the company I worked for was actually way bigger than petroleum. I met another innovation team that I didn't know existed to begin with, and started to see what they were working on, the technology team, what they were working on, and just started to develop a fascination with mining. And so after 22 years or so, I decided to join the mining industry as the global geophysics technical expert, and as a way to move across. So I moved from Houston to Australia with my family, which has turned out to be a fantastic move, by the way. Absolutely loving it.
It is a good country.
Lovely. And and so we've been here for 5 years now, working in mining. For the first couple of years, I was looking after geophysics, but I was also learning from all the rest of the technical experts on the team I was in about how mining works, what matters. And I just got more and more interested. And then this current job came up to look at innovation at the global company scale, or for MinAus Australia at least. And I got really excited because the opportunity was to work on that transition from innovation into business impact and value. So working in exploration, building an innovation team, the results and the rewards of everything you do could be 10, 15, 20 years out from when you start. So this was a real opportunity for me to get into the pointy end of actually seeing that innovation add value to the business. And so, my job right now is to work with all of our assets in MinAus Australia and exploration to figure out what innovation actually makes sense, but to actually also figure out how to get that translated into the business at pace where it can actually have that impact. And that's super exciting.
How cool is that the industry's gone that way, because you could look at the resources industry and you could go, oh, okay, it's a very, stable, just, that top of space. But this innovation bit, you have had it back in petroleum, and now in your current role, it's ratcheted to a whole new level, which is really cool.
Well, the world's changing at pace everywhere, Brad. I mean, this, and everything gets harder. So all of the easy stuff has been found. All of the easy to produce minerals will have been produced unless they're hiding somewhere really inhospitable. And so the problems get continuously harder. The rocks are getting deeper. They're getting lower concentration, lower grade of the minerals within the rock. So it's getting harder to get it out. And so the industry has to keep up. And so innovation isn't really about doing something just to get better and grow. It's actually to maintain. Like, even to maintain, we will have to innovate. There's no way we can keep what we're doing with only the tools that we've been using today.
It's really forward thinking and really, really cool to see in play and the part that you and the team play there. Now, Michelle, I know on your journey, you've really lent into this place in recent times on mid to long term career, of really leaning in, staying, focusing, and rebuilding, like this whole transition piece. Like, what led you to become passionate about that topic and start to share in that space?
Well, I think you can probably tell from our conversation so far that I'm super passionate about what I do. I love technology, I love leadership, love innovation, really excited by it. But I'm also a woman in her late 40s, and that comes with its own challenges. And, I had a couple of years where my anxiety was building. I wasn't able to work the way I'd been working. Things were starting to change. And it was a kind of slow burn, so I didn't realize it all at once until it got to a point where I just really hit overwhelm. And I think that's about when you and I met, Brad. I think
Yeah.
that was about the moment you met me. So you've seen this journey. But, we worked together on Boss, and we'll talk some more on that. But I wasn't ready to walk away from everything I love. I genuinely love what I do. I get personal satisfaction from, discovering something I didn't know before, or having somebody change my mind about something because they've had this really brilliant insight. And I've seen so many people reach this stage of their career, men and women, and they have a moment like this, and then everybody says, "Oh, well, you should just take a break. You should take some time out, take a sabbatical, quit, go follow your passion." This is my passion, so what was I going to quit to do? And I mean, so that was really the point I was at, and it was almost a binary choice at that point. I could leave, retire, get a dog, go do my thing, which didn't sound all bad, or I could actually just fight through and see if I could make it work in a way that worked for me
Yeah.
and for my team. And that was really a decision I made at about that same point we met.
I know, and it's so cool that you did. And Michelle, as you talk about, I've been through the same thing many times. I've only recently sat across the table from a friend and an old leader of mine, and he's like, "Brad, you love gardening. Brad, you love farming. Brad, just take it easy now." And my brain's just too screaming, going, "But I want to help companies. I want to make things better. I don't want to give up now." But with that pressure and position we can be under, it can be so tempting to just pull the pin and tone back, can't it?
I mean, it was very tempting, and at moments it felt like the only option, because there were moments when I couldn't do what I knew I used to be able to do. But the reality is that a lot of that was just my body chemistry changing, and I did recognize that and went and got some help with that, which was really important on the health side. And we've just been chatting before this recording about some of the podcasts that we both listen to, about health and wellness and how helpful they can be. But I also lent into it at work too. So both at once. I tried a bit of everything until we found out what worked, but really, met with Brad and we started talking about, I think I was at a point where I was just trying to hold everything together by doing everything. So I was trying to hold myself together by doing absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And I was burning out.
And you were working full on hours too, weren't you, Michelle?
Oh
Like
yeah.
you were full on hours and then still trying to balance family life and everything else that goes with it. And I think this is such a common tale, isn't it? Like you and I
Yeah.
talking about it. So how did you navigate it? Like what steps did you take to actually navigate through this path that, really allowed you to stay focused and then actually, rebuild for the future?
So the first thing I think you and I did was I reached out in a bit of desperation and said, Brad, here's my calendar. What the hell do I do? This is not going to work. I was working 60, we work a global team. So, Chile's 60 is 12 hours out from Perth, Australia. And so I could pretty much work around the clock if I so wished to do. And I was finding myself doing the most of my thinking work outside of work hours. At the same time, my team was also getting really burned out with all the meetings and all of the overload and the lack of certainty about what they were supposed to be doing. We were in quite a chaotic build phase of a team as well, where we're still definitely forming at that point as a team. And so there was a little bit of uncertainty in what everybody was supposed to be doing. So we did a couple of things. First thing was you looked at my calendar and said, this is ridiculous, which was a good reality. Cool. Like we talked about the expectations that were on me, and you were like, why do you need to do all this? Like, do you really, you've been asked to do them, but do you really need to do all of that? But I think it was also the impact it was having on my team. So my team was stressed. It wasn't just me who was stressed. My team was stressed. And I knew something had to change. And so one of the things that I really anchored on was that request not to have so many meetings. Like how do we actually get all the work done in just the meetings that we're supposed to have? And so we set we set up those rhythms and routines, a series of meetings that would do everything from what are we trying to achieve to where are we going off track? How do we make some of those improvements? How do we make sure that all links to our purpose and our vision and what we're trying to do? And then we worked on clearly identifying what everybody's role was on that, and then mapping that into like, both a year on a page and a month on a page kind of rhythms and routines. And then what I committed to, and this is where I just kind of had to take a breath and trust it was going to work, was that we would only try and solve the problems within those meetings, which meant we had to make those meetings work, which they didn't for about 4 or 5 months, to be fair. I mean, they happened. I'm not going to say I wanted to be in them any more than anyone else did. But we also then continued our journey to work together on how do we link all these meetings? How do we make them effective? How do we actually get the information that we all need out of those meetings so we don't feel the need to go and have another meeting after the meeting to go sort out what should have been said in the meeting? And what I'd say is at this point now, we have reached that point in the journey and we're still continuing to improve. We're working quite hard now for how we do better at problem framing and gathering that information to make those decisions. But we're now improving the system rather than just making sure it's in place. But yeah, holding the line and just making it work was a really big deal. And I think the payoff from that has been, we're an innovation team. Our job is to think. Our job isn't to be in meetings or to run systems or to do super clean, excellence, continuous improvement. That's not what we're here for. But we needed that base of stability to have to break out that time for us to actually think and be creative. So without minimizing all of that noise, my team couldn't be effective enough to actually do their job. Without that, we worked, as I said, we worked a lot on clarity of roles as well, what everybody needed to do, what the big rocks were we had to get done every quarter. And that gave people a framework. This is what I need to do. Anything else had to be an optional extra. So if it wasn't on those big rocks, yes, you could do it, but only if you felt like you have bandwidth. It wasn't an expectation. And so that just freed up a lot of time and a lot of focus to actually move forward the base work and then, pursue your interests when you feel like you have capacity, but just get the work done. And just having that focus really worked. And I gave up doing a lot of things that I would have really liked to do during that time that really interested me, or I thought I could actually make a real difference in, but other people could do them too. And so I just focused on just getting my own house in order, getting the job done that I had to do. And it's freed up my time now that I can take on some of those other projects because everything else works.
Yeah, I love it because I think, like, Michelle, you're sharing how when we looked at your calendar, it was just back-to-back meetings, and I still remember because I know we'll talk about it. You've got a template in BHP called a WILO, a week in the life
Yeah.
of, or it could be a month and a quarter. And we looked at that compared to your calendar. I remember in your calendar, it just banked. And and then it's great how you've leaned into it. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone lean into it so fast where with your team, this is a key caveat. With your team, you got clear on what should you stop, start, keep, and what can you get rid of? What do you need to keep? You got the right meeting rhythms going. You shifted those meetings to become action-oriented forward meetings rather than just pure conversations, and got connected to purpose for the team, clear goals, and then your time freed up, but also your team's time and stress levels freed up,
Yeah.
and then you got time to think in innovation. It sounds simple, right, Michelle? But I don't often see someone move on it so fast and achieve such quick results. Why did you lean into it so much and actually
I
go so hard to get the results?
so I'd love to say it was just because I needed it, but I think like most people, it's a much stronger impetus when you realize that the way you are is impacting other people. So it was impacting my team. I didn't realize quite how much until probably about 6 months in when I started talking to you about some of this journey. Um, the number of people who said to me, "You seem much calmer, you seem much happier, you seem much more like engaged." And my team said the same. And I had one person go out for a little bit who said to me, you know, they were worried about leaving for personal reasons for a short period of time. But they said the fact I was calm about it meant they felt calm about it. And I realized that the way I show up and my emotional kind of tone that I'm setting, I'm not frantic. Yeah, we've got these targets. We know how we're going to get there. We'll get them done. If it goes off track, we'll correct course. But it's all a plan and we'll all pull together to make it happen. And I think I don't think I realized until that point quite how you should, you know all of these things, right? We all as leaders know all of these things. We've all been taught these, everybody knows it. But actually feeling that, difference in how my team's able to show up because of the way I'm able to show up, it really brought it home and made it real. And I've absolutely I've actually got a lot of pleasure this year out of figuring this stuff out. Like I'm figuring out how my own brain works, which is quite entertaining. But it's actually really interesting once you start digging into how to make this all how this works, what the knock-on effects of some of the changes that you make can be.
I love that because I never knew that. Like, I think I've always known you're a very much humanistic focused person too, and you've got a lot of care for your team. I never knew that that became your primary driver because the only
Oh
bit that
yeah.
I knew was then I think I called you outside of work hours, but not too crazy. Like I think it was like 5:30 or something like that, and I apologize for that. But I remember you were doing some exercise, and I
Yeah,
was
I was at
like,
the pool, I think. I was
yeah,
about to do some aqua aerobics with like something really stupid, but
and it
it was
was good. And I was like, wow, you've done it. You know what I mean? And
fun.
you know, but to hear that the purpose was what the impact on your people, that makes a lot of sense. Like it makes a lot of sense for what I know of yourself. But it's so cool that you lent into that because it is the result, isn't it? It
Yeah.
basically helps you, but it also helps your team because of the shadow you cast.
Well, and ultimately what is going to be a leader's legacy is going to be the people that you've built or the people that have worked for you and the experience that they get out of that. And I think, that really motivates me. I'm quite happy to drive myself into the ground, but if it's impacting other people, I think you know, that's a strong impetus.
I think I'm sure with your work ethic you could, but I tell you, just seeing your journey
Think I'm more than
and seeing the health and the joy and everything that you've got, I think I'm sure you'll pick yourself up quick if ever you do it again now. But like it's so cool. Michelle, like I think there's a lot of techniques out there that people can use to analyze their time and optimize their time and all that. The bit I'd like to quiz you on a little bit is one, the connection, clarity and connection to purpose. And then I'd like to chat to you a bit about the WILO system, the system that you've got as part of the BHP operating system that allows you to keep monitoring and reviewing your time and improving it. So that first bit, if we unpack it, the first bit, why is getting clear on your purpose important? Like your team did this about the same time as you took the journey. But why and how did that help?
so we all agreed. One of the big things was we all agreed to have a single purpose as a team. So I'm a sub team within a greater innovation team. And there was a conscious decision not to have fragmented purposes across each of those teams so that we can all show up and represent the same purpose. And, we always talk about cascading purpose, but I think sometimes we have a purpose. How do we all contribute to that is actually a stronger conversation. So that's where we started as a team. We all got together. We took the purpose statement that we had and pulled apart the words and said, well, what's our role in this? Like, how do we actually, what do each of our teams and each of us actually contribute towards? What's the work that we do that will make a difference to this purpose? And that was a really strong conversation. And I think one thing we often forget as leaders is we'll have these conversations as a lead team, we'll come up with these things, and then we'll just present them to the rest of the team and say, here's your purpose, go connect to it. Whereas, you know, I think what we did after that was actually take that to our teams and actually spend like 2 or 3 hours kind of going through what does this mean, having everybody play it back. What does it mean to you? What does this change in how you work? What could this what could the impact of this purpose be? And just taking that time to actually spend and soak on it, I think was really important. And from there, everything else kind of flows out. Does it add to that purpose? No, let's not do that right now. Or let's not do it, or let's not do it right now. And how do we actually focus our efforts where they're going to make a difference?
It's really cool. And I love again the language around involvement, Michelle, because like you said, it's too easy for a team to figure out their purpose that lines up to the company's purpose and direction and just release it and tell people to buy into it.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different story when you sit down and have those conversations and start to explore with people how do we connect to it and where should our time and focus go then considering that. That's a cool step.
Well, and I think the reality is in a team as complex as ours, we work three different commodities. We're all over Australia. We have projects that are going from ideas all the way to pilots and into the asset. We have a really, really diverse team. And so if we didn't leverage all of that expertise, we've got some people with fascinating backgrounds, like truly, truly fascinating, but all different backgrounds. And if we didn't leverage all of that insight into how are we going to turn this purpose into reality, then we'd be missing
Yeah.
the power of what we've built.
Yeah. And you certainly did it well. So then the next component I was keen to chat to you about is that process really helped everyone get clear on what we should do, and you can use it to look at your meetings and everything that you're doing. But then there's this bit that you've got, which is your team's and yours and your team's WILO, which is the week in the life of or month in the life of. A lot of people would know it as leader standard work. How
Yeah.
did having that structure to then start to map it out, put it down on paper, have some way to review and reflect on it constantly, how did that help you get to where you've got?
So the first thing we did was sit down and say, what are the collection of meetings that we're going to agree we all need, and how frequently? And that changes by org level. So, for my lead team, it's kind of on a monthly rhythm. For the teams that work for them, it's on a weekly rhythm. So we sat down and mapped that out. We also made sure to map in development time for everybody so that people had time. We mapped in things like field leadership, which is where we go out and review safety or participate in activities on site or in the office that lead to well-being or safety outcomes. And we put those all down on everyone's calendars. What was really interesting was actually sitting with each other and saying, does this line up? So if we've got this meeting this week and this other lead team meeting the next week, are we having it at the right time to impact that meeting? And we shifted those meetings around to make sure that the flow of information from the frontline kind of work up to the lead team and our reporting to the CTO and CEO, that flow of information through those meetings actually all added. And that we also made sure that the documents that we tried to make only once, but to be able to pull the information in each of those meetings into that next level somewhat automatically. So we just made the system kind of flow through those rhythms and routines. And then, as I said, we committed to not having any more than that. And it's not to say I don't have any meetings outside of my WILO, but they're meetings that I choose to have. The other meetings that are non-negotiable are all of my one-on-ones. So that's every 2 weeks with all of my direct reports and every 6 weeks with my two downs. So make sure that we keep that connection.
That's really cool. So the true value add, you really focus on the value add, but also the timing of those value add rhythms across the whole team to make it all work in harmony. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
And likewise, we do that at a year-long level as well to plan travel and quarterly meetings and all the rest of it. So that system and everybody's got enough notice to know where we're going to be.
That's awesome. So I love this story, Michelle, because the structure is giving you time to be agile. It's giving you
Yeah.
time to innovate, time to think, which is really the purpose of the team and everything that you do. For leaders out there listening, Michelle, and they might be looking at their calendar and going, wow, my calendar's banked, or I'm feeling under pressure, or I got so much on, I don't feel focused. Where would you advise them to start to really take this journey that you've taken to enable them to stay focused and rebuild?
I think there's a couple of things I'm just thinking through. One is to take a genuine look at your calendar and what you need to achieve as a leader or in support of your purpose and what's actually going to get you there. I mean, one of my biggest insights was I never had time to recruit, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy on a terrible schedule outcome. So I realized that unless I recruited into those roles, I wasn't going to be able to free up my calendar. And so I dropped a lot of other things that I wanted to get done that quarter in order to focus purely on recruiting. So looking at the calendar and say, what are the things I absolutely have to do and what can wait? Or what can I just let somebody else do, even though I would love to do it? What can I just let someone else do? And I know it will probably be fine. In fact, it might even be better than I would have done it, but I don't get to be part of it. Which ones can I just let go or let somebody else take leadership on? And that's hard. Like when you're used to holding the system together like
Yeah.
glue and tape. It's you know, letting things fail a little bit.
Yeah. And
It gets
others learn
me.
and grow. It's that
Yeah,
delegation bit, isn't it? Like it's a key part of it, isn't it? Like there's one part, like you said, which is what's our purpose and what's value add, non-value add to that purpose. But then also what do I need to be doing really? But what could I delegate for others to do and grow and maybe fall on their face a bit and learn from it? And
yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah. And look, there's always the what do I want to get done? But realistically, what's the impact if I don't get this one done right now? Is the world going to fall over, or is it just that I feel like I'm obligated or I've committed to it? But if I had a conversation with somebody and said, this is going to be 3 months later because I've got other priorities, is it actually going to matter? And that's, when you're pretty committed to always delivering on what you promise, that's quite a hard conversation to have with yourself. But sometimes those things just aren't as important as other things you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that ability to just say no or not right now. Yeah.
Not right now is easier than no, to be fair. But
Yeah. It's too true. Well, Michelle, it's been a great journey and I've seen the results and what it's done for you and the team, which is amazing. For you now, like what's been another recent insight that you've had now that you've got this more time and you're able to focus more and the team is, what's been something else you've learnt recently?
so there's been a couple of things. I mean, what prompted me to reach out on LinkedIn with some comments about this journey was I've been going on morning walks most mornings. That really helps. So I also tracked everything for a year in my personal life as well. So AI is a wonderful tool if you want to see what affects your mood or what affects your productivity or things like that. So sleep and going for a morning walk are two pretty non-negotiables in my life now. But I walked back from the beach one morning and I just genuinely felt happy. And I think when it comes as a bit of a shock that you just feel quite content and happy, it was a real moment for me. I was actually, just walking back from the beach in Australia, which is pretty lovely in itself. But, it was just a lovely sunny day and I just felt really good. And it'd been a long time since I'd felt like that. So that was really the impetus for writing this. Of course, I wrote all of these comments down about 3 weeks then before I injured myself. So I had a little bit of a nerve injury in my neck, which took me out for about a month. And actually, that turned out to be probably one of the biggest recent insights was that, the system that I've built doesn't depend on me anymore. So I was out for about a month. My team stepped up. They took my delegation. They helped each other out. They knew what they needed to do. They kept the routines moving. They got everything done. The whole system held. And actually, once people saw what I had to deliver to my leadership and beyond, they actually went through and actively refined all of the information that they were sending me so it was more useful because they were having to deliver it. So, it actually, when the system holds when you're not there, I think that's a pretty powerful reflection of how far we've come as a team.
Yeah.
And I was pretty proud of that. And my team were amazing. I mean, one thing about the recruiting is, all of the people that we have on our team are really, really strong. They're really very, very capable, fantastic people. And they proved it while I was out for months. So yeah,
Yeah, I love it. I love that story too, Michelle, just that happiness and joy that you felt and you've got with yourself going forward. And then also that the system then you'd put in place has enabled your team just to flourish and be able to keep going even when you're out for a month. Yeah, it's such a good story. So, Michelle, know that you're sharing on this going forward. How can people connect, reach out, see the content that you put out there on this topic as the journey goes forward to help others, stay and rebuild?
yeah. Look, I think the easiest place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So I put out a series of posts on a similar topic right before I injured myself, so I might need to update them a little bit with some of the latest insights, but that's probably the best place to reach me. So just Michelle Thomas, and I'm fairly straightforward to find. The posts on this topic are pinned, so they're pretty easy to locate.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the show to share and help so many other people learn and be able to stay focused and rebuild, and find joy and help create systems that just enable their teams to go on and flourish. And thrive and flourish, I should say. Michelle, thanks for sharing and thanks for helping us create a better future.
Thanks to you, Brad. You were a big part of this journey. I think you and I met at exactly the right time to kind of turn this around, but I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's credit to you, how well you've gone with it and what's come from it. I'm so stoked. Thanks again, Michelle, and bye for now. What a great episode. Remember, you can visit our website, enterpriseexcellencepodcast.com/downloads to get hold of the time optimization program we've put together to help you take some of the steps Michelle took to achieve what she achieved. We also have under resources a document on a broader transformation model that you can use to help your organisation define its excellence system, its approach, like Michelle mentioned, that they have at BHP with the BHP operating system. Please like, subscribe and share this podcast to help others gain insights and create a better future. There were two key takeaways for me from this episode. Firstly, the personal purpose Michelle went into around helping her team through improving the leadership shadow she was casting. When a person connects change to a meaningful purpose of their own, it truly helps achieve great things, as it has done with Michelle and her team. The second key takeaway for me was the sustainability of the system Michelle and the team created, a system that kept running when Michelle was away for a month. The team achieved this sustainable result really quickly. I believe it was the level of humility Michelle led with and the level of involvement the team had in defining their approach to the BHP operating system, their standard work, that enabled this. The old saying, tell me and I forget, show me and I'll know, involve me and I'll understand, is a true one. Thanks again for everything you have done and continue to do to help others, Michelle. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.